Howdy guys, Attorney Walter now. Let's get the camera a little bit more perfect. There we go. All right, let's get right into this. This is very, very important as to essentially what's going on in the world, what needs to be happening, and what we should be aware of when it comes to this whole fourth stimulus situation. Now, this was a result of obviously the COVID pandemic. And I want to go through historically and study whether or not a future fourth stimulus could potentially happen, whether it's based on hope or whether or not it's being used as a political maneuver to push people one way or the other, aka create fraud. Now, I want to talk about COVID because via 2019, that's when the SARS-CoV-2 virus really started to take place. Okay, it took off more into 2020, but 2019, that's where it started. Now, you have to imagine and look at this and say, okay, was COVID the first pandemic? Why were we so unprepared? Well, it wasn't the first pandemic. It wasn't even close. The reality is that there was essentially an H1N1 pandemic of 2009, influenza, 1968 H3N2 virus pandemic, also influenza. Then we go to 1957 and 1958 H2N2, also influenza pandemic. Then we go to a 1921 diphtheria epidemic, which peaks with 206,000 cases. 1918 pandemic, influenza again. 1960, peak of polio begins. 1906 to 1907, typhoid Mary fever broke out, totaled around 16,000 deaths. How about 1858 with the scarlet fever? Or how about 1832 to 1866 with three waves of cholera? Then in 1793 with yellow fever, 10% of Philadelphia's population died. 1793. 1776, the USA was formed. 1633 to 1634, smallpox from Europe in North America. So these ideas, these pandemics are not really rare. They're not uncommon. They're just frankly not really prepared for by our federal government. And here's the problem that we run into. We have to start to ask ourselves, why does this keep happening to us? And why do we not have a prepared state to deal with it? Why don't we have the gear to deal with it? Why don't we have the medicine to deal with it? Why don't we have all these things to deal with it? And of course, I come at all this stuff with the thought pattern behind Social Security benefits going into 2023, right? Will the retired, will the disabled, will the widows, will, those disabled little children, auxiliary benefits, will they be able to get a fourth stimulus or some sort of assistance going into 2023? Because the 8.7% COLA isn't even close to being enough. I mean, I think all agree that the math behind that is a biased averaging algorithm that just hurts the claimants, those who are on Social Security benefits. So the higher the inflation number, unfortunately, the bottom line is, right, the more those people are getting screwed over that are part of Social Security, whether it's retirement or disability or whatever, okay? So the odd thing is that America was woefully lacking in preparation when COVID hit. The President Trump White House administration sought to use a mostly unused tactic, almost never used tactic, being direct injection of funds via stimulus to the American people, a really broad net that just hadn't been seen in that form before. Maybe some tax IRS stuff, but never like this. As a result, people became newly equated to the word federal stimulus, right? 1,200 in April of 2020, 600 in December of 2020, and then 1,400 in March of 2021. Now, guys, remember, if you like these videos, if you want more of them, please remember to like, subscribe, and leave 5-star reviews. I'll put that in the comments, and I'll also put it in the chat section a little bit later. Now, with that said, YouTube channels have made over $1 million talking about the potential of a fourth stimulus. The expectation was that President Biden would release an additional $600 joined with his $1,400 March of 2021 stimulus to make good on his overall $2,000 promise that he was pushing during the 2020 election season. So what happened? And why is it relevant that we revisit this now that the midterms have come to a close, or they're almost closed, right? We're still figuring out exactly the little details, but we know which way things are going, okay? As you know, President Biden lost the House, and the Senate is leaning Democrat for all realistic accounting purposes. Will a shift in power from a blue, right, overall, right, a 3/3, 3/3, right, a total, it was all blue, right, Senate, House, White House, even though There were those particular senators that were problematic, right, for the Democratic Party. Will a shift in power from a full blue to a two-third blue equate to a fourth stimulus, right? Because it won't have the House. And why was a fourth stimulus shot down over the past 2 years? And what this really comes down to is, what can we expect in 2023? Like, what's going to happen? Okay, so let's begin the basics of why a fourth stimulus did not occur. The economy tanked. People blame corporations and people blame the White House politics, or rather, White House policies. The bottom line is that essentially the corporate business model was, angry because of the White House policies. The White House made it more difficult to make money during the new Biden era. And the corporate entities, they responded with, punishing the White House. Put another way, the White House made it harder to make money largely by pushing a green agenda, which then caused corporations to focus heavily on finding the profit. Oil, food, and other raw materials became an economy mismatch, and inflation skyrocketed. Biden, with the midterms coming, knew he needed to accomplish two things, two elements, two objectives. Number one, to get the price of oil down, because food and other raw materials would follow. And that's what's important here. He had to get the economy kind of Band-Aid fixed for these midterms. Number two, Biden needed people to understand that Republicans are the Christ party, or the religious, right party, who intends for Social Security benefits to sunset or potentially even end. He had those two potential objectives to use to go ahead and get the 2022 midterms in the favor of the Democratic Party. Biden accomplished the first objective by mass flooding the United States oil reserves into the public market through the states. Okay, so you put a bunch of oil products, whether it's diesel or gasoline, into the states so that people could purchase them, right? People did purchase them. There was a lot more oil than the people who needed to buy it, and therefore the price of oil products went down. This put us into a dangerous place because our reserves are now very low. However, realistically, we can buy more at a higher price down the line. This is called bad economy or bad economics and good politics. Not smart for the country, smart for the party, though. Objective 2 was handled a bit roughly. Okay, the White House administration proposed that President Biden was a savior because of the 8.7% COLA increase. Most Americans applauded him and still do, until the White House removed that from their website because it became apparent that President Biden did not boost the COLA, but rather caused an inflation crisis imbalance that needed to be corrected by a reevaluation of the US dollar. Not smooth, but you can recover from that. That is a recoverable thing as President of the United States. Okay. President Biden's next tactic was to use a website feature as a de facto sunsetting agenda by Republicans of the Social Security Administration system. Yeah, true. The Republican that, they all said this thing, did this thing, whatever, didn't actually intend that or have a connection to that. And it was some low-level knee stuff that the Democrats were doing here. Okay. Most people on the left still believe that Republicans are intending to sunset Social Security within 5 years. They're not. Relax. It's okay. It's just politics. That's all it was. It was just politics. This is false and frankly should have been a massive lawsuit against the Blue Party for obviously misinterpreting what a Republican senator had stated and then stated thereafter. So far, a significant amount of Republicans do not know that this has even occurred, which is amazing to me. And a significant amount of Democrats will go into 2030 thinking that Republicans still intended to end Social Security benefits somewhere around 2027, which is weird. It's just weird. It's weird how people are that manipulated based on which party they're part of. I think it's incredible, too. I mean, think about that. That's like sorcery stuff. We're talking about like wizards and witches level of manipulation. It's incredible. It's interesting because Americans are kind of split into three groups at this point. Those who listen and question, and those who listen, question, and research. Most Americans fit into the listen category, and very few fall into the listen, question and research category. Nonetheless, Republicans have no plan for fixing Social Security benefits, and the Democrats have a lot of plans. They just, for the most part, are not really great fixes. They're mostly tax the rich, and in the end, they don't address the reason that we have all these problems with our most sacred trust funds, being the Social Security trust funds. Of course, the big one that's a problem right now is the retirement fund. Enter the fourth stimulus. The most expensive wheels on the road for the average consumer are truly the shopping carts now. Those on fixed income are downsizing, and all in all, we are on the brink of war, which not a good situation. And whether the average American realizes it or not, we're going to have to deal with that. Remember, guys, it takes one attack on the other side of Earth via NATO, and we are in World War III, which they're trying to figure out if whether we are, over the next couple of days, in World War III. The old adage that Democrats tax and spend and Republicans war and spend has put us at an unknown number called the national debt. We don't really know what it is. We don't have a full audit of this thing. We don't know. Okay. Maybe it's around 31 trillion. We don't know. Maybe, right? So if the richest country on earth can't afford a war and can't afford a fourth stimulus, then are we playing the more epic game of Monopoly that the earth has ever seen? Or is it one of those things where we're just spending because if we don't spend, we lose power and control, and then other countries, well, they get to do what we did all this time since World War II, which is collect other countries, put nuclear bombs on their border, and then play basically God. That's what it comes down to. So the federal government via the American Rescue Plan gave out $195 billion with potential growth to the 50 states with a $500 million minimum per each state. Okay, so the feds, as part of an agreement that became law, superfunded the states so that they could give out their own stimulus versions to be more directed than just we're giving money to everybody under this amount of money. They must have a plan, these states that the federal government gave money to go ahead and spend it by 2024. So they have to have a plan. And then they have to have spent it all by 2026. The following states have begun their spending of this money along with some of their state surplus budget. So it's a little bit of a combo here. Arizona gave $2,000 to people who got a job after being on unemployment and staying employed for at least 8 weeks. No mention of Social Security stuff. California got the $600 to $1,200 as part of the first stimulus and around $500 to $1,100 as part of the second stimulus. No Social Security specialization there. None. Colorado sent $375 to those who were getting an unemployment check. Okay, not Social Security based. Maine sent out $285 to workforce checks to those who worked during the pandemic. They will also be sending out $850 relief checks to offset the inflation. Maryland sent out $300 checks or $500 for families who filed for earned income tax credits on their 2019 taxes. Missouri is giving out $250 to those who work in mental health facilities, nursing homes, and correctional facilities during the pandemic. New Mexico is sending out $750 checks. New York is sending out $3,200 checks to those who did not qualify for unemployment and stimulus payments. Expect a lot of that finagling to potentially end up in the pockets of quasi-legal, illegal immigrants. Vermont is sending frontline employees hazard pay between $1,200 and $2,000 for those who worked during the pandemic. The following states gave out a special bonus to teachers of varying amounts, being Florida, Georgia, Michigan, Tennessee, and Texas. Now, you might be wondering, why didn't I say that any form of assistance, stimulus, or bonus would be paid to those who are receiving Social Security benefits, whether in 2022, 2023, or 2024. The bottom line is that they were not a targeted group for enhancement when the pen got to paper on signing day. And that's the important day. Ultimately, people use the stimulus funds in the following way. 41% for food and bills, 38% for saved money, 11% on non-necessities, and 5% for investments. Okay. So the question becomes, is a fourth stimulus likely? And will Social Security benefits be targeted for a particular boost? Should we have hope, or is it all fraud? I can think of only 4 ways that a fourth stimulus will occur. Number 1, another pandemic occurs, which could happen. Happens all the time. It's happened a lot throughout history in America. I mean, the short time that we've been around, it's happened quite a few times. Number two, a massive World War III with bombed U.S. lands could occur, which means similar to Ukraine, they all get a stimulus check. We're going to have to start paying our citizens a stimulus check, even though we're paying for Ukraine citizens to have a stimulus check. Number three, a nuclear attack on U.S. soil. Definitely there will be some sort of stimulus checks. Number four, a food shortage. Okay. Now, here's the deal. Another pandemic is possible. A World War III bombing with nuclear interaction is even more likely, and the most likely being the food shortage, which I personally saw the yield of the crops in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York. It's bad. It's really bad. A lot of the corn that they had intended for human consumption is now going to be used specifically just to chop up and feed to the cattle. So it's not good. All right. Now, here's the thing. If inflation is high, the government will not want to do a fourth stimulus as it will cause even higher inflation. If international trade becomes more difficult, then the government will not want to do a fourth stimulus because buying more of what is hard to get into this country will cause a greater inflation scenario. If raw materials become rare as a result of World War III destruction, then the government will not want to do a fourth stimulus because the purchase of those items will cause extreme inflation. So we come to the final chess game layout. We call it the end game analysis, right? I know, obviously, the superheroes stole the term end game, but the reality is in chess, we always had the intro, the mid game, and the end game. During the 2020 election, a significant amount of promises were made about a fourth stimulus. During the 2022 election cycle, basically a significant amount of promises were made that Republicans would end or sunset the Social Security programs. I think Democrats are smarter about recognizing the ultimate leverage. I do. I really do. I think when it comes down to election time, Democrats play politics better than Republicans. They're just smarter about leverage. They're just better at it. Nobody really knows. And backed by the theory that Roe v. Wade would never happen, and then it did, it's not hard for the Democrats to push that the Republicans are destabilizers. My question to you is, do you feel that the Democrats will try to combine their two main leverage points during the 2020 and 2022 election cycle to bring a fourth stimulus to those on Social Security benefits? Because you're killing two birds with one stone from the two things that they promised: a stimulus, right? And not, hurting, but benefiting Social Security benefits. That's two birds, one stone. It would make two promises have a Disney approval that, as of this date, have not been seriously attempted. One of the viewers made a comment which I thought was very accurate. You either get no action, the Republicans, on Social Security benefits, or a lip service, the Democrats, on the big promises of what they want to do and how they're going to do it. The Republicans aren't doing anything about providing a solution for Social Security benefits, and the Democrats are providing less than amazing solutions that are likely to not pass into law. So, do we want lip service where there is a chance, or do we want a party where everyone ignores the issue? Because whatever they say is exploded into something not originally intended and then used by the Democrats as leverage against them. My feeling is that a fourth stimulus is not off the table because we are facing war-related situations that could bring one into focus. The real fourth stimulus was the money that was given by the federal government to the states to be paid out however the states felt it would be better. And remember, it's always the state's job via constitutional law to take the federal laws, follow them, and then make them more specific if they want to change them. At the end of the day, we are facing a very unique situation between 2022 going into 2024. This 2-year period includes issues of war, issues of low yield production for food, and issues with the oil rebound. People are not talking about it, but the reality is where does oil go from here? A massive amount of our reserves were just sold, not only to us, but also to China. A massive amount of our food is not going to be available. And the potential of us getting into a full World War III on behalf of some country in Europe that most people don't even know where it is on a map is pretty high. So ultimately, my question to you guys is If all these things cause inflation problems because of rarity of assets, and then we have a war, which creates rarity of funds, rarity of interaction of people to be able to survive, where does Social Security, the retired, the disabled, the widows, the survivors, where do they exist on this very scary teeter-totter kind of, back and forth timeline? Will the federal government give them more attention, or will it not? Will the federal government view those on Social Security benefits as those who are already getting a check and don't need more, while those who are working and can't afford the basics should get one, versus those who are on a disability or retirement or a Social Security check aren't getting enough to be able to survive to buy things, so they should boost them? Where do you feel this government is going? Because remember, we've got a House that's a Republican, and we've got a Senate that's kind of Democrat. I mean, it's a real close scenario. And then we've got a White House that's Democrat. Are our agenda or agendas when it comes to green energy, when it comes to war preparation, when it comes to the economy, are we going in the right direction? These are, I think, important questions that are relevant to the future of how we approach those on Social Security benefits. Do we allow people who are receiving a Social Security check to continue each year to not get the proper amount of income increase, benefit increase, because of inflation being much higher than the cost of living adjustment actually gives them? What do we do? What's the fix? Is it just so much money that the federal government can't back it, can't fix it? Even if we did fix it, even if we filed suit to have a cost of living adjustment redone, a new analysis, new mathematical equations, having experts figure out where this whole thing should actually be at, what it should be per year, what years were too low. Could the federal government even afford it? When you walk into a bank, they say federally insured. But when we're talking trillions and Social Security benefits and tens 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 of millions of people receiving them, the federal government makes no promise to federally insure your benefits because they can't. The trust fund, 11 years, maybe 10 years, is going to run out for retirement benefits, and you'll get around what my generation can pay in to pay for your retirement, which, as you guys all know, we're not having enough kids because we're stressed about student loans. We're not making enough money because the older generations left us a shit economy and not enough, good paying jobs that had warehouses making products in this country from raw material. I think what's not being really thought of going into the future is that we have to restart the furnaces of what made America able to produce and make all these amazing products. Because if we don't bring production back to this country, I guarantee you retirement will not die, but become infinitesimally smaller than anybody even imagined. And that's not the goal. The goal is to increase retirement, thereby validating the dream of essentially work hard and be set free. You may remember Dachau, right? You may remember Auschwitz. You may remember these places. They made a promise. Work hard, be set free. And it was a lie. America is more and more rolling into this identity of work hard and set free being a lie, because now most retired are being forced into a work more and then work even more and then keep working and work some more. Think about the disabled. They don't even get that choice. A lot of them can't work at all. A lot of them can do a part-time gig, which is why I want to increase those, resource limitations so that they can get some more money coming in. But a lot of those disabled can't even work. That's something to think about. All right, guys, I'm going to switch us over to the part of this session where we go ahead and start to answer questions from phone calls. I am fully aware that I started about an hour late. Unfortunately, I was working on a million things. I still have a couple more AC Appeals Council briefs to go ahead and read. We're going to set this up and get you rolling, and then you will be able to go ahead and call in. Let me get this set up real quick, and then after that, we should be good to set you up for calling in and asking any questions you want or running hearing questions with me if you like. So give me 1 second. And when I'm setting this up, I'm going to give you a bit of an update. I am about 50% complete with the setup of the future studio that'll be used for all these videos. There's a really nice desk there that's like a bar thing. There's a control area where we have the speakers and the keyboard and the mix board. There's a green screen area. There's the drum area. There's the acoustic and electric guitar area. A lot of cool stuff is going on. Basically, I'm getting to tap into all the stuff that when I was actually making money way back in the day, 20 years ago, all of the cool things I was able to purchase and then hold on to, and we're going to get to see some of those in action. All right. I'm now going to go ahead and basically take phone calls. I'm going to go back to basically the first person who called around 8 o'clock. And then we'll go from there. Let's see if we can get this first person on the phone and get this thing rolling. Here we go, guys. Let me get the volume up on this a little bit. There we go. Oh, wow. April, thank you. Thank you for the $5 donation. That's excellent. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. This is Attorney Walter Knott. We are live on YouTube. Would you like me to answer a specific question, or would you like me to go ahead and run hearing questions with you? And remember to use a fake name throughout this process. Go ahead.
Actually, I called and left the phone number. My friend needs to speak to you.
Oh,
She,
okay.
Yeah, she was going to call in on her phone, so you would call her. She has some disability questions for you.
Sure.
And yeah, let me see if I can get her on this phone. Hold on.
Okay. Now, is this for representation or just general questions about like how the program works?
Bye.
Howdy, madam. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Walk me through, what kind of questions do you have about disability benefits?
My situation is, I talked to you for quite a while ago. I had sarcoid disease.
Sure.
And I'm at the point where I was working from home, and it's getting hard for me to even do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be filling out FMLA papers again, but I think they're going to want me in the office.
Mm-hmm.
And so I need to go on disability, and I'm really not sure how to do that.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
do you want to call me like during regular office hours and I'll walk you through the application process, what's involved and things like that?
Sure. And could you represent me or something like that too?
Yeah. So what I would say is this, for people who are looking for representation, we're kind of one of the more popular firms. And what you would do is just 9 to 5, give me a call. You'll either get me or somebody from back office, and we'll go through all the things. Yeah. But here's some things to kind of get prepped ahead of time, because I always ask these questions and people are always like, I'm not sure. Number one, what are your top 5 most severe disabling conditions? Number 2, when it comes to basically medical treatment, which facilities and what types of doctors have you been seeing over the past 2 years?
Okay.
Number 3, what medications / devices? People think of devices as like ambulatory devices, like a walker, crutch, cane, rollator, or could be a brace, special shoes, something along those lines. And don't forget those that are attachments to the body, whether they heat the body up or cool the body down. What medications / devices are you using?
Okay.
And then also a little work history. Nothing too big, nothing too special, but what were the jobs that you've worked with in the past 5 years? What were some of the most difficult functions that you had to do with them that you could no longer do now? And, you know, essentially why you wouldn't be able to do a part-time job.
Okay.
Perfect. Madam, I will catch you tomorrow,
right.
And you have a wonderful, wonderful night.
You too. And was it the same phone number I would call?
Yes. This goes straight to my phone. So basically, you just dial this phone number and yeah, we'll catch up. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, guys. So first phone call. Let's go to the next phone call real quick. Hold on. Let me find it. And here we go. Perfect. Got it. And calling. Here we go. Let's see if we can get the next person on the phone.
Judy is not available.
Okay, so we missed that one. Let's go on to the next one. Here we go. That's one of the things, like I try to have people use a fake name, but sometimes their voicemail might pop up. But that one didn't have a last name, so we got lucky there. Let's see if we can get this person on the phone. Hi, can you hear me okay? I'm not really sure what that was. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to put the phone number in the spot here. If you want to call me, you can. And also, guys, keep in mind, this is super important. When you call me, remember to use a fake name. And let me know if you want me to answer a specific question or run hearing questions with you for your upcoming disability hearing. Also, after this video, and I am running super late today, we will essentially be going and doing a security video as well. So I'm really excited about that. Now, somebody's trying to call in right now, but it just clicked off of my phone. So I'm not sure what happened there. Oh, hold on. Here we go. It didn't work. I'm going to try and call this person back real quick. Give me one moment. Here we go. Let me see if I can get this person on the phone. Oh, let me do this. Here we go. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Knott. We are live on YouTube. Would you like to? Oh, you know what? I think we're calling each other. Hold on. Let me try one more time. I'll try and call him. Let's see what we got here. Come on. This is gonna happen. I feel it.
Hello.
Hi, this is
Walter?
yes, howdy. This is Attorney Walter Knott. We are live on YouTube. Remember to use a fake
Hello.
name. Would you like me to answer a question, or would you like me to run over hearing questions with you?
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine.
Oh, good. Yeah, my name is
Wait,
Ted Capone.
you use a fake name. Yeah, just make sure you use a
yeah,
fake.
that's fake name.
Oh, good.
I'm talking to you got a wonderful assistant, Shelley. I got a bit of a pickle I'm in, and your show I did the last night about the 504 1973 Act.
Sure.
I moved to Alabama from Chicago.
Okay.
I've been on SSI for 4 years for PTSD, traumatic brain injury. I'm quite a can of sardines. I was in solitary confinement for 4 years, and that's kind of what pushed me over the edge. But I cannot get medical treatment down here. I'm not medical, but mental health. They're refusing me because I seem to be like too much of a pain in the butt, like you said on your other show. And, I get with all these different symptoms, but I've been released from 2 centers with no explanation. They said, we hope you the best, but we just can't treat you. They try to put you on, like you said about the medication. And my PTSD, antidepressants can make me more aggressive. I worked the streets of Chicago as a repossessor for 23 years,
Sure.
And I kind of had a breakdown.
Okay.
I was actually, I was harming some people. I was doing some explosive, different things. I don't like medications. They like to put you on, like you said, Geodon or some type of heavy antipsychotic if you exhibit any type of aggressiveness. But I don't know what to do. I've reached out to the governor's office. There's a law firm in Birmingham that's going to try to help me, but they are discriminating against me, and they've been very rude. I tried to use honey. I had to swear to anybody. I'd walk in there and they said, we'll call you back. But Alabama is number 2 worst mental health and medical for a reason I'm really experiencing. And I don't know if you have any recommendations because I need to be in therapy. I want to go back to work. I want to stabilize myself and get off of this SSI. It's actually, I'm hurting. The good news is I own my house. I own my vehicles. I have no debt. I have my savings, but I'm going through my savings. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I didn't know if you had any suggestions what to, because you can't make a doctor see you. And like you call let's say Yellow Brick Road or in Huntsville. They're too far, but they have a year waiting list to see a psychologist. Some of them don't even have a psychiatrist. They may have a nurse practitioner, but they want to put you like on the flavor today type pill. Like, oh, have you tried Zoloft? I've seen one psychiatrist. I kind of laughed at him. I said, I that made me depressed. I said, I'm not trying to be on medication. I want to get therapy. You know, psychiatrists generally want to dope you up and just make you go away. And psychologists, they generally want to help you. But Alabama, you know, I've talked to the disability department at the governor's office. Great people. 2 people that work there that are disabled, but they seem like their hands are tied. And my governor, Ivy, she claims she wants to put these millions of dollars into, you know, some of the private institutions and whatnot. And one of them is one that refused to even see me. They wouldn't even call me back. I had a Department of Mental Health actually investigate, and they said, well, they just don't want to see you. They said that, you know, you came across a little aggressive, and I swear to you, I didn't threaten, I didn't swear, I was a little assertive, you know, because I'm like, hey, I want you to take my name and number down, and I keep calling, but you don't call me back, you know. But they just don't call you back down there, and if they do, they tell you that they're 3 months out, 6 months out, or they stop taking Medicaid, and I feel bad for the doctors. It's not enough money for them, and I totally agree with your show. If somebody that comes in, they got like a simple diagnosis, okay, see you in 6 months. With me, I got high cholesterol, I got diabetes, I'm 52 years old, but my mental health is what I'm on disability for. I actually went and got approved by a judge by myself with no attorney. That's how serious he took my history, because I hate to say this over here, but I have a kind of a violent history of batteries, you know what I mean? And
Sure.
then the solitary confinement, I think you probably experienced it with ex-cons. We don't work well with others. That's why being a repo man actually was a good job. And then the PTSD started coming in because I've had head injuries. I've been in, you know, shot. I've been stabbed. I've been beaten in the head. I mean, you know, you name it in Chicago, you kind of got to take care of yourself. You know what I mean? Chicago is not a place you can rely on the police department, you know?
No, not at all.
So I didn't know if you had any suggestions. Shelley, you know, I asked Shelley if maybe we could do a federal class action with other people like myself, because I'm sure there's plenty of people. I mean, I'm an intelligent person. I'm not mentally retarded. I'm very relentless. That's why I was such a good repossessor. But, you know, when I talk to these places, I said, hey, you know, the people that can't talk or don't have a backbone, I feel bad for them, because they give up probably after the first couple phone calls, you know. And I think a federal, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not an attorney, but that 504-1973 Act, it is a federal violation if they take Medicaid, as you said, and they don't follow protocol and they discriminate. Okay, we'll take the redheaded guy, but not the guy with the purple hair, because he just got too many problems. And I could totally see that. I mean, because they always screen you. They'll ask you, you know, okay, what is your diet? You know, they have you fill out the thing. And when they start seeing my stuff on there, you don't want to lie to your doctor. They see, you know, bipolar 2, they see schizoaffective, they see PTSD, they see traumatic brain injury. I've yet to see but one psychiatrist. He tried to put me on Zoloft. We just not hit it off. It was on a Zoom. And I told him, I said, sir, with all due respect, you're not qualified to even see me. And you know, that probably upset him, but he just did not have experience dealing with my level of disability. You know what I mean? There's people walking around that I look normal. I'm clean cut. I don't look like a crazed lunatic. You know what I mean? But I stay at home. I don't like people. I don't do well in public. That's why being a repossession agent, it's a very weird occupation, and most of us are antisocial. But we're very sociable, but we're antisocial, if that makes sense. I mean,
Sure.
Because we have to know how to walk a fine line. I can't look like a punk, like be too soft, and I can't be disrespectful. So I had a breakdown back in like 17, 18, started just doing some bad stuff. I was taking a law in my own hands. You know, I don't want to get into details on that, but I just got in some trouble. I got out of it. Thank God I'm clear. I'm free and clear from the justice system or the court system. But I mean, I'm sure a lot of your clientele, they probably have these similar, because you hit it right on the head. I was calling it cherry picking. I called the head of Medicaid in Alabama. She got offended. I said, with all due respect, your state is committing fraud. And she goes, excuse me? I said, yeah, because you're allowing these doctors to cherry pick who they want to see. And, you know, and then you made that episode, and my eyes just got wide open. I'm like, oh, my God, it's not just me. Because I felt like maybe it's me, like I look like a scary guy, or I come across, I mean, I don't look like a little soft, like you were talking in that one episode. You know, you're the type of guy that's friendly. I do look aggressive, you know, in appearance, but I am clean cut. I mean, I don't look like a monster, but I think I intimidate people inadvertently. You know, and then when I tell them my diagnosis, you know, they're like, whoa, this guy, you know, he was at solitary 4 years. You know, I was at maximum security, Menard, Pontiac, Stateville, Joliet. I mean, it's pretty serious stuff. And you know that does change your brain. I can't, as much as I fight this every day, I'm not the same as I was. I went in there for being a car thief. I was a nonviolent offender. And I came out a very, very angry individual towards society. So, because they mix and match.
Yeah. So, you know, So the big thing I run into, so the big thing I run into with people, especially on the VA side, when I get the VA guys, we find guys kind of like you, and then you add on top of that military training. Not only do they know how to change the outcome of situations, but they're usually with the tactical gear to do it. So I totally hear you. And it's a very difficult spot. You are not going to find what you're looking for in Alabama. You're just not.
I know, it's terrible.
You have to go to Georgia. You have to go to Florida. Those are going to be your two best spots to basically find the medical treatment you're looking for. The other side of the coin too is, and it's one thing you didn't mention, but the extension. Let's say that you want the next step. The next step after this medication isn't working is a lot of in-house treatment. And then the step after that is continuous sanatorium-based visitation. So what are you looking to achieve? Because, I mean, I don't know if you know, like, where this goes. Like, you know, you being, you know, basically in a room where they're bringing you medication every so often, you get to come out to interact with very few and, you know, particular, you know, people who have mental impairments. And I get what you're saying. The psychologists versus a psychiatrist. The psychiatrists, they're medical doctors that have the ability to distribute medicine, so they're going to use it. The psychologists, they don't. So they've got to use different tactics to figure out where this is all coming from. But the bottom line is, even if you were to get what you want, tell me, what do you want and what do you think that equates to medically? Yeah.
There's the closest I got, there's a traumatic brain injury foundation in Birmingham. It's called the Head Injury Foundation. A very nice lady. I've been waiting 3 months for her colleague to call me back, and they have this peer. And I think group therapies, one-on-one, is the best thing. I mean, some people have to be on medicine. I don't believe I need to be on medicine. I actually take benzos because I get like an aggressive panic attack. Sometimes I get a regular panic attack, but when I get panic attacks, like if somebody bumps me or like I hit my head on something, I just go bananas. And when you mention Xanax, they look at you like you're a drug abuser. Okay, now it's a devil's drug, but it does help me, but it's messed up my brain, I think, even more because, you know what I mean? I do a lot of research, and, you know, I get these, I just like blow off at the, you know, like we'd be out at a restaurant, I would just, the waitress would disrespect me, and I would just, my wife would see me get mad, she'd go out to the car. But the Xanax, you're supposed to take it as needed. Okay, and the mistake is the doctor says take twice a day or 3 times a day as needed. Well, you feel better when you're on it, so what do? You take it. And so when I bring that up to some of these places, you know, one place insulted me. They're like, well, we have a substance abuse program. And I said, I'm very insulted. I'm not a drug abuser. I said, I don't take meth or Adderall to get high and use the Xanax. A lot of people, they take uppers and they use the Xanax to bring them down. I don't get high off Xanax. I mean, they'll basically put me to sleep, but I'm on 4 milligrams, which is pretty high. Some people take 6 up to 10. But it's messed me up. I've been on and off it. I've weaned myself off it. It's very difficult. But what I'm looking for is to get therapy, see a psychologist. I had a great psychologist at Illinois Masonic in Chicago. See, they had resident programs in Illinois. Down here, UAB in Birmingham, I called. They don't take Medicaid. I said, do you have a residentship program? Because some of these residents, they have passion like yourself. And they they got into it for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but the problem in Illinois, you see them for a few months and they move on to a real job.
Mm-hmm.
But those were the best for treatment for people like me. And then I haven't tried the VA, the vets. We have a very similar, my combat is urban assault, work the streets of Chicago. And I want to try it. And this head injury foundation said they have PTSD vets. They're peers. They're people that have PTSD. And I think that's the best help for a lot of people, because I've been in some good group therapies in Chicago where you have people that I've actually helped. They've helped me. I had a guy that was depressed sitting next to me. And then we started talking. I said, well, you got a 70 Chevelle in the garage? I said, oh, my goodness. And I got a smile on his face. And then the therapist, she says, oh, wait a minute, we're getting off topic here. But a lot of people that are mentally ill, I believe, honestly, in my heart, can help other people. And I do believe in the peer system. But like I said, Alabama, Governor Ivey, it's a lady. She's like 100 years old. She's talking about putting $6 million into the state. She admits that her state is deplorable with the mental health. We have suicides down here. People there's some crazy people in Alabama, I'll tell you that. But when you call the Department of Mental Health, they're rude. I had a lady like literally scolding me like a child. They've hung up the phone on me. I have a northern accent. Me and Shelley were joking around about it. I love everybody the same. If you're from the north, the south, black, purple, pink, whatever, and me and Shelley were joking. She's like, the Southerners, they really have a thing for the Northerners, and they hear my accent, and I think it almost kind of like bothers them. But, but they just don't call back, Walter. You call these places, they don't return calls, or they tell you they stopped taking Medicaid, or they say they have a place called Yellow Brick Road in Huntsville. Mm-hmm. They have a year waiting list to get in there to see any type of mental health. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And they're like, no, unfortunately, this and that. But, I think there needs to be some more push with the act of something to help people, because there's people out there I would probably be scared to encounter, that don't want to try to help themselves. I'm just I want to stabilize myself and get back to work. My industry, I make really good money. I haven't worked for quite a while now. And, I'm a good repossessor. I'm an elite repossession agent. I'm the guy that knocks on a door that says, hey, Walter, where's your 2018 Chevy? Mm-hmm. I'm a very, experienced repossession agent, and I have companies down here that I can talk to. I'm scared to go work for them because I don't want to offend them and say, hey, can you pay me on the side, because this is going to destroy my disability. Mm-hmm. I'm scared to go full blown because what if it doesn't work out and then I lose my SSI? SSI is terrible. It's what we're going to get an extra $70-something. I got food stamps. We have no debt, other than food, gas, which I get assistance on gas, electric, food, but you see what the gas prices are. I got a diesel tow truck at $5 a gallon. That's my daily driver. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know if you had any suggestions legally, because I was thinking of Tennessee, and you said Georgia, Florida. Does Tennessee have a good, mental health
yeah, that's
program?
not bad.
I know there are a lot.
Yeah, South Carolina's not bad. Georgia's probably your best bet to drive over there. Look, here, all right. So I still don't know the depth of how severe your mental impairments are. Obviously, they're severe. You're granted supplemental security income, Title 16 benefits. But give me some examples where things kind of rode off the rails so I understand what we're talking about.
Well, I being a repossessor, you're not, this is going to be crazy. It almost sounds like I'm a hypocrite. I'm a master at diffusing situations. Mm-hmm. Like if you came out, hey, mother, what are you doing in my car? And I'm like, sir, calm down, Mr. Walter.
Mm-hmm.
We address you by your last name. And, and I did very well. And I think a lot of good repossession agents, they came from gang backgrounds, prison, because it's very similar. We're working in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a city dweller. I mean, now rural areas, these southern folks, they do worry. I mean, they'll shoot you, half a mile away with a 308 or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we, even up in Illinois, we'd go knock on a door, before we touch the car. Down here, there's some areas I have to learn, but I was making a couple $100,000 a year, but I don't want to go back into my business and hurt somebody, because I was like you asked what was going on with me. I was taking the law in my own hands. You know
Sure.
what I mean? Our job is to retreat. If you came out and said, get off my property right now, and if I don't have a sheriff with a court order, I have to abide by that.
Mm-hmm.
And, and some people would, I'll shoot you, I'll do this, I'll do that. They'd get close to me. And there's times I've had guns to my face.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked my way out of it. I've had people threaten me. I just, okay, it's cool. It's cool. But it started getting to the point where I'm like, I'm getting tired of this. I can't rely on the police. These gang members in Chicago, I was starting to do things that I don't want to talk about on the phone. They were technically illegal. I was just using excessive force. It's very easy to justify hurting somebody when you're a repo guy.
Mm-hmm.
The insurance companies, they even forbid us from carrying firearms.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them don't want you to carry pepper spray, because they'd rather me get hurt than you, the debtor, because you could sue.
Mm-hmm.
I can't sue my own insurance company, but, so I was like, I did a couple things that, batteries, stuff with motor vehicles, stuff like that, and cops. I had a couple cop buddies, and they say, hey, get out of there. They're like, if something happens, if you got to do something, get out of there. These are cops telling me this, because then they'll flip it around and I'll be the bad guy, so.
Mm-hmm.
I have a blacked out tow truck. You could barely see the license plate on it, and we go into these neighborhoods and it's just us and the bad guys hanging out in the corners. The police, you don't see them. They're in the good neighborhoods. They come only when the shots are done. I've literally found dead people in alleys. You wouldn't believe, and I think that's probably where the PTSD from the solitary, but I was doing good. Like I said, when I got out of the joint, it was February 99. I towed for a while. I jumped right to repossess. I was an ex-auto thief.
Mm-hmm.
So back in the day, we used to actually repossess cars with tools. We'd actually steal them. Now you can't do that. They're all laser cut keys, smart keys. You got to have a record. Mm-hmm. So back in the day, you had to be a really good salesman, a counselor. Yeah. You know what I mean? You had to know how to, because you're getting caught in their car. You're mm-hmm. sitting in the seat of somebody's car working on it, and they come out. And I liked it. I was in my 20s. I thought, hey, this is great. I'm making good money. I'm stealing cars legally. And I loved it, And then I just started kind of going downhill, probably right around 2012. I started changing, 16, 17. I was getting in trouble, fighting with people. When I could have walked away, I stood there and I'm like, yeah, what do you want to do, dude? Like that type of stuff. And I know that's not what you're supposed to do, but I don't want to get back out there and have an episode, and if I had a peer, I think a peer and, like person I could call, weekly, just once a week. Like, how was your week, Ted? I went out and it was a pretty good week. I had a guy, he spit in my face. And I actually walked away. I called the police. That's what we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to beat him in the head or something. That's the crazy thing, is you wouldn't believe the abuse that we take. It's worse than the police. Because the police, they either love us or they hate us. Right. Some of these cops, they get their cars repossessed. And I work for professionals, believe it or not. Even with my record, I work for private detectives, a retired marshal. I worked for a police officer that was actually on duty, a police officer. But I learned from the best. I dress nice. I'm not a slob that comes over there harassing you to get your car. I really took pride in my profession, and I want to get back into it. And I'm scared. I don't want to get back into it, especially in Alabama.
Now,
I mean, these people
real
down
quick.
here.
Yeah, real quick. I've got a
Sorry.
question. When it comes to getting paid, do they pay you guys if you're unable to get the car?
Right.
So
No, they don't. No, if we don't get the car, you don't get paid. I mean, some of them will give you a closing fee, which is $25 or $50. Like if I knock on your door and you say, "Hey, I'm not giving you the car. I got a check coming tomorrow, and I'm not giving you the car." Okay, I can't make you open the garage. Okay, so tomorrow you pay, and then we get a close fee. It's very minimal. I mean, back in the day, they used to be like 125. They kind of got lower and lower, and a lot of the banks, they're staying away from us knocking on doors because of fair debt or the Consumer Protection Bureau. Because you could say, "Hey, this guy embarrassed me," and then you could do a complaint. And but most of those are predatory, like a subprime or title loans. But the banks, they still have us knocking. I mean, the guys, everything is high tech. I got license plate readers on my truck that read your plates. We have tracking devices on cars. It has got more easy. But
to find them,
the mental health, but the people are getting so desperate. They're more. You could take a guy that could be like you, an attorney. You're losing your house. Your wife left you. She's with another man. Here I am, the straw that breaks the camel's back. I'm like, sorry, I got to take your car. You're liable to kill me. And so people have got a lot more aggressive to deal with, and that's a problem because most people are not bad. I mean, believe it or not, you knock on a door. I'm like, and my spiel is, "How you doing, Mr. Knott? I got some bad news. I'm here on behalf of Ford Motor Credit. I need you to open up the garage and turn over your Ford F-150. And I'll teach some tricks real quick to people that are listening. If you ever have a repo guy, I'm teaching you the secrets of the trade. If you ever have a repo guy on your property and he doesn't have a sheriff with him, you could tell him to leave, okay? But our job is to manipulate and talk you out of that car. And I know that sounds terrible, but we're not going to tell you, you don't have to give me the car. I'm there to actually make a formal demand. And then if you say no, we kind of give you it, but like, you know what, we're going to put this out as legal. Well, what does that mean? Well, that's a sheriff will come out, and highly unlikely these sheriffs. I've only been on a few writ of replevants. I don't know if you know what a writ of replevant order is. They're very expensive. The sheriff would come out there, and then we would forcefully go in the garage and take the car. Those are few and far between. So the salesman that can talk better, and using honey. I mean, I don't go up there. I'm your friend. When I knock on your door, I'm your friend. I say, "Hey, I talk to you like I talk to my own brother." I would recommend opening up the garage, turning over the vehicle. I'm going to write it down as voluntary, even though it's involuntary, and I'm going to make you feel better about it. A lot of people, if you make them feel, you don't want to make somebody feel like a piece of crap. You know what I mean? And I tell them, "Hey, I got relatives that are in a repo. I have to work with you to get the car back. I can assure you that. Just be cool with me. I'm going to write up a report." And I'm really good at that. But like I said, I mean, I was having some things that I like. I punched a couple people in the face. I mean, I'm like, why did I do that? There's somebody smart off to me. Those are things you don't do. People get me. I mean, technically, if somebody gets in your face, you got a right to defend yourself. But, you don't have to if they're not putting their hands on you. You know what I mean? Because I've been in corner. I've been cornered with 7-8 guns to me. Like, this is it. I'm going to die. For being, locked up before, I kind of know the streets. I'm like, "Hey, bro, no disrespect. You'll never see me again. I just got to reassignment today." See, they reassign orders. And they don't always tell you. Like, you might have been repo man number 1, and the guy said, "Hey, if you come back here again, I'm going to kill you." So I'm repo man number 2, and I may not have that knowledge. Usually they put a caution on, and they say, "Do not contact debtor. Just start do drive-bys. If you see it, snatch it." Our trucks are like, I could hook your car up in 10 to 20 seconds and roll away with it without even getting out of my truck. And that's the best way. We call it hook and book, snatch and grab. The least amount of contact you have with the debtor is better. That's why I like being a repossessor. I had no boss looking over my shoulder. I have what do they call it? A personality disorder or whatever it is. But yeah, I just, Alabama, didn't know if there's a way I could file a federal discrimination suit against this Wellstone and against what's the other one? God, I can't think of it. It's a I don't want to put his name out there, but it's a doctor that they gave me a letter, and they just basically said we're releasing. And here's the bad thing: I lost my regular doctor because he was working under the same group, and I liked him. He was an Indian, born in America, an Indian from India, and he's born in Nashville. We really hit it off, and I got a letter that they can't treat me anymore. No explanation. And he said, I think it's something you had words with the secretary. I said, I didn't do nothing. I said, she was being rude to me. I said, I want to see your supervisor. That's all I did. They said that they felt threatened by me. Can you imagine? And that's like the boy that cries wolf. It's like people that work in mental health, you gotta have empathy. Me as a repo man, I have to have some compassion for you and empathy. I have to have something because people, human nature, you want to tell me your whole life story. If I'm repoing your car, my wife left me. She drained the bank account. I lost my job, and and I'll make you feel better. I'm not an a-hole. Believe me, that's not what I am. I say, just take it easy, bro. It's only a car. And people that I really like, I'll even give them my phone number. I'll say, you know what? I'm connected. Down here, I have no connections, but Chicago, I had connections. They finance somebody with no job, But I said, hey, give me a call if you can't get the car back. I could probably get you in a beater, maybe a $10,000 car to get you back and forth. You know what I mean? But we're not all bad. There's some bad repo guys, and I don't, I was always consider myself a professional. I didn't use physical intimidation. That is the last thing that someone's you could take a guy that's 5'4". I had a buddy, he was an ultimate fighter, 6'3". This guy had ripped me in shreds. I'm 6 foot, 230. And he always had altercations. And I used to go with him to train him. He was a newbie. And everything he did was wrong. Walking up to the house like he owned it. Pulling in the driveway with the tow truck. We're doing door knocks. This was like field investigation week. And he was just the way he carried himself. He looked like a bully. And I said, you take the smallest man on earth. If you put him in a corner, he's going to try to hurt you. I'm like, we're on their property. He's like, what's wrong with pulling a tow truck in the driveway? I said, because that's disrespectful. If the guy's in the garage and we see him, you park on the street. How you doing, mister? You mind if I come up and talk to you? Yeah, what's up, man? Come on. So there's different psychological aspects to it. And it was pretty good.
So here's some things. I got to jump in though, because you'll go and you'll go and you'll go. Now here's the thing. I'm not hearing what the solution is that you are seeking other than medical treatment, which means you don't know what the solution is. I'm also hearing that financial gain is a major aspect of what you're looking for. And you feel trapped because SSI limits not only income, but also resources on a guy that used to make a lot of money, which means that you could ticket to work program your way into something really good. So I think what I'm hearing is you want a ticket to work program, medical treatment to get you mentally sound so you can go back to do what you used to do.
He's right. Exactly.
Okay.
Like
so
a green light from a doctor.
Yeah.
Right now I feel like I don't have anybody to talk to. My wife is not somebody she's not that type of person. She's just like old school Polish and, get your act together and blah, 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 but she doesn't understand. She's never worked the streets and, I want to go out there, provide for my family. I don't want to take this SSI as a slap in the face. I don't know how people do it that have to pay rent. I don't even know how they do it. I mean, my home is paid for, and my cars are paid for, I work my life off.
Why are you on SSI and not SSDI?
I never worked a job that I've ever put into. All my jobs were like 1099 when I worked for the companies before I got my own business going.
Okay.
And, it's a weird job where they give you these 1099s and then we get buried in owing the IRS money, because we're spending it like a kid in a candy store. But yeah, so my entire life, I just never put in enough, the couple jobs that had payroll where they actually take your taxes out. Those are few. For corporate repo companies are not good. That's not good. That's the last place you want to work. They run like a Walmart and they'll hire anybody. But yeah, my question to you mainly was, do I have a leg to stand on and make some change or maybe file something? Because like I said, when I bring this up to the Department of Mental Health or the governor's office or the Medicaid, it's like I'm talking to the wall. It's like they don't even acknowledge it. One person actually said, yeah, it is pretty rough, the mental health. We're working on it. But I said, you don't have any. I said, I've been here for 13 months, and it took me 2 to 3 months to get my Medicaid switched from Illinois, because you don't just automatically have coverage. So the Social Security Administration, they kept having fast, busy signals. I drove there. Nobody was there. They're working from home in Coleman, Alabama. And so I finally got through. And within 2 weeks, they switched it over because no doctor would take my Medicaid. Only if it was emergency, like I got to go to the emergency room. But it's just like amazing. You could totally see, like, just the way when you tell them your diagnosis, it's like, oh no, we don't want to deal with this guy, you know. And I'm polite. I'm like, I'm not rude or anything. I mean, these people are the ones that are being rude. I mean, I obviously know you attract more bees with honey, but they talk down to you when you have a stigma. If you have a mental health illness, you have a stigma. People think that you're not intelligent, that you're a pushover, you know, they're condescending to you. I mean, I've experienced all this down here, and I mean, I have more spit vinegar. I want to get back to work. And I know this sounds mean, but maybe I'll be able to repo in these people's cars one day. You know what I mean? And it's just that, you know, and I don't take my job personal, but I believe in karma. That's why I always try to treat everybody the way I want to be treated, you know, when I was working. You know, but some of these mental health people, I talked to the assistant, to the chief of staff, and the commissioner of the Alabama Department of Mental Health. I said, Howard, this was today. And I said, can I get your name, please? What do you need? What's your name? What do you call? I mean, this is how rude she was being. I go, ma'am, it's just common courtesy. I'd like to know who I'm talking to. Finally, she told me her last name. Mm-hmm. And she was being rude. And I finally said, ma'am, I said, you're being very mean to me right now. She hung up the phone on me. Mm-hmm. Telling her basically she's not nice. I mean, that this is the Department of Mental Health, a state employee. I mean, you have so many people out there that would love to have that job. And actually, you know, you could get really far with just a kind word. You know what I mean? And some of these people are like just miserable, you know, the patient advocacy people. I mean, you wouldn't believe it. You'd have to do it yourself and just act like you had a problem, call up there and tell them, hey, I can't get no help, and you would hear it. Illinois, I mean, wasn't perfect, but we had a lot of stuff at our disposal in Chicagoland. No. You know, wasn't the best doctors, you know, but then again, I wasn't focused on psychiatrists. I was focused on the psychologists, the counselors, the therapists, the group therapies. These are very important for people that have trouble controlling their temper.
Now, with that said, I gotta say, there's another side to this, which is there's 20 of you out there that called in and blew up that day on that person. And so by the time that person gets to year 2 of doing this, they say, fuck it. You know what I mean? And it's understandable, you know, because there's no, you know, when people are like, oh, I want to take care of the elderly, I want to take care of the mentally unsound and things like that. Some of them have what it takes to put up with the BS. Some of them don't. And most people, most Americans don't, because no matter how you push it or shape it or put it, it's PTSD on their side after the first 6 months. And so, you know, so I guess what I would say is this. I totally get it. I see the Alabama side of it too, which is they can't find employees to do this stuff. The Social Security Administration has the same problem. 1 in 8 fires, quits, whatever, and they have to constantly try and find new people to do this stuff. And so, you know, another problem with it is that there's so many policies now to follow, and basically government employees, they're unlikely to get fired because they're pretty protected jobs. They're not hyper aggressive jobs when it comes to how much you have to produce, but there's a lot of policies to follow. And then on top of that, you know, you don't get paid much. The benefits are meh, okay. They're not amazing, like mind-blowingly amazing. You know, the only people who really do well when it comes to that are the VA civilian-based claims, where they get a VA disability check and they get a, you know, civilian disability check. So this is
Right.
what I would say. You're talking about doing some big lawsuit for bias against them, but I haven't heard any proof other than the facility said they don't want to take you because they viewed you as a hostile individual. I haven't heard any proof of bias other than that. What's the proof?
Well, the one doctor's office, they just sent me a letter that says we're releasing you from your care.
Mhm.
Now the other one, Wellstone, they would never call me back. I walked in there twice. First time, I was assertive. I guess you could say I was being rude. They were being rude. And I said, I want you to take my name and number down. I've been calling you about a dozen times. You don't call back. So finally a lady heard me. She came out. She goes, sir, this is just our policy. I said, this is a mental health center and you're telling somebody to leave and call them back. I said, I've been calling you. So I got a call later that day, another very rude therapist. And she started lecturing me. She goes, first of all, sir, you can't come in here and just expect us to drive. I said, that's not what I did. And I said, ma'am, could I ask what your title is? She was a counselor. And I said, are you qualified to deal with PTSD? And she's like, well, I work with all different types of things. But she was totally, and she hung up the phone on me.
Mhm.
I said, can I get your supervisor? That's the first thing you do if you're having a problem. You ask for a supervisor.
Mhm.
She hung up. That was the last contact I had. I tried going in there one more time and using honey, without getting on my hands and knees. I'm like, could you please get me in here? And they never called me. So the Department of Mental Health, they reached out. This was a couple months later, and they finally called me and said, yeah, they just don't want to see you. And they don't give a reason. And you know what Alabama told me? They don't have to give you a reason. And just like the first doctor, he just put, we are releasing you from our care. And I'm like, so I got high cholesterol. I guess you could say diabetic. I got a 6.9 A1C. It's not good, so there's some medical things that I lost out on. Fortunately, I found a good doctor. I have a really good doctor. He's just your general practitioner. Wonderful man. He's from New Mexico. He's got the big mustache, like Yosemite Sam. Cool guy. If you just like say, if you find a doctor, you don't switch doctors, but he doesn't have. He tried to refer me to some of these other psychiatric facilities, and like I said, they don't answer the phone, or we stopped taking people. We're at full capacity, like the Yellow Brick Road, a year. Could you imagine somebody if you were depressed? Okay, and thank God I don't have major depression, but if you were majorly depressed, consider it suicide. And you reached out to Yellow Brick Road, and they said, well, and they don't even ask you what your problem is, but I'm just saying, let's say you're considering suicide, and people that kill themselves, they don't tell people they're going to do it. They do it. And so you reach out there, and they say, you know what, it's a year away. What would you do? You're probably going to throw in the towel and go jump off the bridge. And that's a sad thing. I'd like to see change, not only for myself, but all these things you talk about on your shows, like that last show, it's so true with these doctors over-medicate you. My grandfather was a surgeon, and I learned a lot from him. He was very anti-medication, believe it or not. He always believed in natural before. Some people have to take high cholesterol, some people, whatnot, but that's how they are down here, though. I'm just telling you, Walter, it's beautiful state. Taxes are nothing down here. I think that's why they're lazier, because they don't have the tax. I was paying $6,700 on a 1,500 square foot house that was worth $160,000 in the south suburb of Chicago. You know what I mean? And down here, some people's taxes are $30, $50, $90. But I think that enables them to be more lazy. You work your butt off. You're up all night. I told Shelly, I said, that Walter, he's a saint. I said, I've never seen anybody like you. You're the real thing. I've watched a lot of your shows. I've learned a lot. You're a very educated man, and I appreciate you. I know it's a big battle, one man like yourself fighting the government, but all the stuff that you talk about, it's all real. It is real. We have a lot of people out there with physical and mental health disabilities that get pushed aside. Some of the attorneys aren't great either. I got banned. My attorney, I fired him in 2 weeks. I just didn't like him. I said, you know what? I'm going to go to my hearing myself. I went in there with my doctor's reports. As soon as that judge heard my history and I showed him, his eyes kind of got big. He says, you know, Mr. So-and-so, he goes, I really think you're an intelligent man, and I think you'll get back out there. I want to see you working again. I'm going to re-review you in 3 years. And it ended up being, because of COVID, I think it was 4 years. They just re-upped me again. And they did like a separate investigation. It was really weird. You may want to tell your clients, I don't know if you told them, there's 2 different reviews, one with your medical and then one just to check you out to see what you got. You know what I mean? They did that to me. They wanted to see
there's
how
a
much
short
money
form
I
or
had in
long
the bank.
form. Yeah.
What do they call that?
So there's a short form where they just do a quick review of what you got, where you've been, stuff like that. And then there's long where they usually send you a CDR.
Yeah, my wife, she doesn't work. She made a measly $1,300 a year last year. She's helping on a dog kennel place, cleaning the house, and she's got some problems of her own. And I didn't know that she made, you know, that much money. And the lady, she's like, you didn't tell me your wife made this. I was like, oh my God, how much did she make? And they ended up, it was no big deal. She was 300 over. They said she's only allowed to make $1,000 a year. And I'm not sorry, not a year, a month or something. And no, I'm sorry, it was a year, because she is unemployed and I'm on SSI. They said she could only break. Is that true? You can make $1,000 in a year? I'm like,
so
you know, she made $1,300.
So the thing is,
for the whole year.
Yeah, she's got her limitation with unemployment, and then you have your limitation with basically allowable income via a spouse. But that's a whole different, that's a huge video in itself. But the thing I want to talk about is that you're on topic, which is why I wanted you to kind of talk about this a little bit more on a video that I'd planned in about a week to 2 weeks from now. And that is that some types of claimants, whether they are the little old lady from Maine who's got a drinking problem, who has mental impairments, or the VA guy who's, you know, fresh into, you know, Miami, who keeps threatening to do horrible things to a lot of people. The point is, certain types of claimants need certain type of medical treatment because some medical treatment is not going to be advantageous to them getting better, which means that our government is a one impairment fits all type of medical facility, you know, ideology, which is that if you got this problem, you go to that hospital. If you got this problem, you go to that doctor. And the reality is that, look, if you take a hardcore biker and you put him into an AA group with a bunch of, you know, California folk that are still trying to figure out, you know, essentially how they want to do the pronouns, you're going to end up with a bad situation. And inherent with that, nobody talks about it. And so that's one of the things that I was going to do a video on, which is why I wanted you to kind of talk to me about this stuff. But the focal point of what I've come to the conclusion with is that some people need a type of medical approach that is very different. You're somebody that needs tough guys to be there to talk about tough shit, to basically get it out of your brain and into their ears so that's not in your head. Whereas other people, you know, they just let it, they keep it on the inside, because if they talk about it, then the bad things that happened to them back in the day, they're assuming bad things are going to happen to them going forward. That's a lot of repressed females, things like that, who've been abused in relationships. They don't want to talk about it because when they talk about it, they get their butt whooped, which is not good. So you've got these varying principles of how to approach essentially mental impairments. Now, physical impairments is different. You know, a lot of that stuff, it's based on physiological aspects, but a lot of the stuff falls within. You know, some patients are treatment resistant, right? You give them some medications, they work, some don't. You give them a surgery, you know, the blood takes, the tissue takes, whatever, some don't. That's a much easier line to follow. And I think the government, when it comes to medical treatment, medical administrations that are out there, you know, hospitals, clinics, doctors, private practices, you know, specialists, whatever, I think they've got that figured out a lot more. But when it comes to mental health and the approach to categorizing an individual as to the preference of type of medical treatment that they would do best with, I don't think they're that far ahead on that one. And that's something I wanted to talk about. But I'm still struggling with how to approach that, because think of it this way. What do you feel would be the best, most reasonable approach to treating you so that you get back to work?
Well, for starters, you know, psychologists, peer support, you know, group therapies, that's a hit or miss. because, you know, you might be in there, like you said, with, you know, an old lady with a drinking problem, a guy that's really rich and he has no friends and he's sad every day. And I don't mean to like minimize their problems, but I'm kind of looking like, God, I wish I had those problems, you know. But I was in a group therapy, a few different group therapies at Chicagoland, and, you know, a couple of them were more intense. You know, you got the people that are, I hate everybody. I want to, you know, there was quite some eccentrics in there, and I don't ever look down. Like I said, everybody's got their own demons, you know, and nobody's. But we're all nuts, you know what I mean, as a human being. But the thing is, you know, like I need intensive PTSD, like a one-on-one to start out with, and then maybe move on over to maybe a group therapy. But see, they don't have like intense therapies down there, like even at Wellstone. But they did just start this PTSD program, and you know, that's right 25 miles from me. That's actually close, you know, where I live, because out here everything's a million miles away. But, you know, the thing is, you know, you're calling and you don't want to overdo it and make it look like you're a madman, but you want to tell them, hey, this is my problem. This is how I get sometimes. I go to Walmart. You know, some days I look at people and I have that 100-yard stare, if you know what that is.
Sure.
You know,
sure.
When I look, and I really don't try to look for trouble, but sometimes when I go somewhere and somebody looks at me, I stare back at them like, you know, with that, like, what's up, dude? You know what I mean? What do you like? Like, I'm not saying it, but I'm looking at him like, what the hell are you looking at, dude? You know, and see, I get in those moods, and I think we all have our days like that. But I mean, I'm the type of guy. I mean, I've been arrested probably 30-something times in my life for battery. You know, just for walking up and just belting somebody right in the face, and it felt good. You know what I mean? Some people, I hate to say it, I don't believe in violence per se, but some people need a swift crack across the face once in a while. You know, I don't believe in disrespectful people. I've never enjoyed seeing bullies bully kids, or, you know, I've been the guy to try to help somebody. You know what I mean? The one that was getting pushed around, you know. So, but, you know, down here in Alabama, one thing that I'm encountering, Walter, I talked to Shelly about, your assistant. She's a fantastic lady. The North and the South thing, it is real. There's a lot of people where I lived in this area. They're very anti-Northerner. Okay, and I'm Mediterranean in appearance, so I classify as Caucasian, but you don't see a lot of Mediterranean-ish looking, you know, Southern Italians or Greeks or whatever. You're Mexican, you know, or you're Guatemalan to them or whatever. But there's some very bigoted people down here, and I think that's part of. I didn't think they really existed as it did in the South. But yeah, I live in a sundown county, which I was told by a nice black guy I met. He said, yeah, you used to have a sign out here that said, when the sun goes down, don't let it go down in your black ass. And then it said, have a blessed day. And I mean, these people go to church. There's a church on every corner. I'm not exaggerating. I'm like, how could you go to church? You know what I mean? And that's another topic. But so I feel when I talk to these Southerners, I think, I don't know, maybe that's part of the problem, because Northerners, we are more sophisticated. I'm going to have to say that. The Northerners, we are way more sophisticated. We have different ethnicities, different, you know, foods, you know, your nationality, you could probably go back 1,000 years, trace it. Down here, they don't celebrate being Irish or, you know, whatever, you know, Scottish or whatever. They're white.
I'm not bringing up Kentucky. I'm not bringing up Kentucky. That's the only thing. You're going to say what you're going to say. I'm not going to bring up Kentucky.
Yeah, it's crazy, but that's you know, and most of the people, they're pretty decent. I mean, they're like down to earth, but the thing is, they're very polite. But see, if you get off topic or you question anything in a professional manner, like I've been doing with these people, you know, to see the dark side of a Southerner, they're very, like, they scold you, you know, and some of them, they just don't. Like one of her teachers, when my daughter left the classroom, one of her friends said, the teacher said, those Yankees need to go back where they come from. I said, you are kidding me. I said, we're Americans, you know? And I'm like, you know what I mean? We need to be united. Like, you know, we're talking about this World War III thing. I mean, we are on the brink. in the cusp of being blown off the planet. And I hate to say it, my family's all military, fought for every war going back to the Civil War. We do not have the equipment that Russia and China has. These generals have even come out. I'm like, I can't believe you're telling people this, but yeah, they know what we have. We don't have anything to take out their missiles. That's why we're hiding our bombers. We're moving our bombers all over the place because they know where to bomb. But yeah, everybody I think is a little bit anxious right now, scared. I don't know if you notice, but people they don't talk to you as much. They're not themselves.
Well, they're in fear.
And,
they're in fear of debt. They're in fear of currency reduction. They got student loan problems. Their kids are turning into monsters that are. You think Russia has unguided missiles? You should see some of the kids that these parents have. Those are the best unguided missiles I've ever seen.
I'm telling you, it is. It's just crazy. What's going on. I never. I'm 52 years old, and I just never thought I'd see a day where a country is this bad, and I wouldn't have a solution if you asked me. If I was a genie in a bottle, I couldn't fix it. It's that bad. But people, we need to be united. And this politics thing, I used to be a Republican, and since I moved here, I'm independent. I said I've seen the other side of the coin, and I said it's not what I thought it was going to be. So I don't dislike Democrats or Republicans. I'm just more independent. But I do believe Democrats they BS a lot. But what you said earlier in your one of your episodes that they do rally more, and I think they get out there and they do listen to people more, and they do try, especially with disabled people. Look at Illinois. They didn't limit how many medicines you get a month. Down here, they charge you $3.90 every time you go to the doctor. It's not a lot of money, $3.90. But we call that Chicago pimpy. You're being pimpy. You're going to charge me $3.90 to come in here, and it's before they even see you. You can only get 5 prescriptions a month. You can only see a doctor in Alabama, I think, 12 times in 1 year. They have very strict Medicaid guidelines down there. And as far as I know, is what I was going to ask you, is Medicaid, is it fully funded by the feds, or is some of it come out of the state?
There's a combination for multiple aspects of the program. That's another thing I need to go into. But real quick, just to kind of find out, because we got to take one more call.
Okay.
I've been thinking about the political thing too, because if I ran as a Democrat, the problem I'd run into is that I wouldn't get very far because I wouldn't be able to get any of the Republicans on board with the Democrat-based proposals that I could modify, change, rewrite the bills and get them through. If I ran as a Republican, I'd get a lot farther because I'd be somebody on the other side that could rally Republicans behind a bill to help Social Security benefits. But then you'd have all the Democrats attacking me that, for anything that I did that wasn't within the call of the Democratic Party, which, as you know, they run as a herd, whereas the Republicans are more of like a soul hunting animal. So it's an interesting thing.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But
and the thing is, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it on your show, but I love Trump. I never voted in my life until Trump ran, and I voted for him because he was independent. And I believe that he does care. He's got a foul mouth, and he needs to, but he's not a politician. I really believe that Trump wanted to help the homeless, the disabled. Trump. You look at. I had black buddies up in Chicago. They were Trumpsters. You never would think that. I even was turning on a lot of my little Latino friends. They own businesses. I had you guys. I said, hey, this guy wants to help your business succeed. A lot of people don't realize small mom and pop businesses make up I believe it's 95% of all employment. So that's the part of me. Republicans are good. They got their good side, but when it comes to helping somebody, that's disabled, I think they're being very cheap, and they like we should live in squalor. That's the part I don't like about them. You know what I mean? And because down here it's all Republican. Alabama's like Florida. You know what I mean? And it's like you would think that they're all church-going people and, help thy neighbor. And it's a very humble state. But but why don't they help people with mental health? I just don't know. I mean, I thought it was me. And then when you made that video about the trend with the doctors, you actually gave me a little sense of sanity back from hearing that from you, because I thought maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I'm an asshole and they just don't want to see me, But when you told me that, and it's a trend across the United States where they pick and choose and cherry pick, like, oh, this guy's got 5 different ailments. Oh my God, I got to talk to him for 45 minutes. Remember when you said that in your video? And then you got the depressed housewife. Oh, we'll give her some Zoloft or Prozac and, send her on her way. Give me a call in a month and tell me how you feel, Miss Wilson. And a lot of these doctors, they all have their flavor of the day. Like, some will put you on one, and my grandfather, the surgeon, he was a man of integrity. And he never took the free trips and the gifts. But that's why he was against a lot of pharmaceutical companies, because they were pushing it on these doctors. So if you got, let's say,
let me jump in real quick. I want to ask you a tough question, short answer, because we got to pop to the next person. But who do you think, if you had Biden in a room and Trump in a room, that you could convince to support Social Security beneficiaries more?
Trump.
I would agree. I think I could do more with Trump than I could with Biden. I don't know if I'd come to him as a Democrat or Republican, and how I'd be able to, negotiate a settlement with him on that. But I think people who can make a deal are not 40-year-long congressional, let's call them over-experienced candidates. I think I'd rather take my chances with the make a deal kind of guy, because I've always done better with those in business. As a business owner,
Trump, I believe, is more a true capitalist. Capitalism is not what it used to be, where you get bonuses and raises and you get rewarded for your merits. Like in Illinois, you worked at a job for 50 years and you do nothing, and you're making 150 grand a year, just for example. This is no exaggeration, but you do nothing.
One more question. Who do you think would be the best Democrat to raise Social Security benefits, decrease the restrictions? Who do you think, other than Trump, would be the best Republican as well to do that? So the best Democrat and best Republican.
I don't know much about DeSantis' healthcare down there. There's that one, I can't remember his name. He was the one Democrat that was always going against the party, and then he flipped. I think, was he in Arizona? I'm talking about. He was the guy, the common sense Democrat guy, the senator. I can't remember his name for the life of me, but he was the one in Congress that actually made sense. That he was like going against a lot of the stuff that the Democrats were doing. I can't remember his name. There are some good Democrats out there. They're for the people. I'm not really that good with politics. I'm just more common sense, and it's like, you see these people, they enrich themselves off the poor man's back. Look at the record profits Walmart's made, the oil industry. They've made $100 billion profit this past year. Walmart's up, I think, 21% profits. The CEOs, they're going to keep making that money. And see, the repos, I'm still in the industry, like the forums and stuff. The people making $200,000 a year, those are the ones that were picking up, or, they're getting their cars taken. I remember 2008 like it was yesterday. And we were picking up Porsches, Mercedes, and I'm pulling up like, oh my God, look at the size of this house. And we're picking up sometimes 2 or 3 cars from the same house. And most of those people, they were very embarrassed. They cooperated. As soon as I mentioned the sheriff would be there, they would give me the car. It was like 99.9. I'm like, you know what? If you don't want to do it the voluntary way, we could get the sheriff out here. I said, and I promise you, they will come. You got about $300,000 of vehicles, what have you. But that crash that happened, this one that's happening now is going to make that look like child's play. And all I could tell, the other viewers is just try to stock up on whatever you can: water, food, your medicine. There's a couple different places out there. I think it's contingency meds where doctors can prescribe you antibiotic kits. They won't get into any psychotropic or any type of pain, control substance. But, that's what I'm telling people. Like, try to get what you need. Try to get some extra medicine. Because what if we run out? China controls 90%. You see, we're got a shortage of amoxicillin. I can't pronounce that word. It's a Z-Pack. Begins with an A. But we're short on 2 great antibiotics. The anesthesia to put you under, hospitals are running out of it. They don't have any.
So really,
this is getting scary.
And I agree. I got to do a thing on the low medication, where they're produced, how they're produced, all that stuff. I got to take another caller though, but this was good. I got some input, because remember, I hadn't finished the script yet for basically different types of folks for different types of treatment, and that was the whole idea on that one. And it was a tough one to write, because people are so different now than they've ever been. If you were to go back to 1900, 1800. The lineage of cultures were much more similar, even though they had great deviations on different types. But in that time, it was based more on geographic and race-based. If you were a Latino from a Spanish or a South American country, your culture was going to be different than somebody who's trying to do the little house on the prairie gig. But with that said, let me catch you a little bit later. That was excellent. And
appreciate it. Thanks for taking it. I feel like I took too much of your time, and tell Shelly thank you very much. And if I don't know if she could send me an email when you do your next, because you said you're going to do that in a few weeks.
I
mean, maybe you could give me I could give her a call. I got her number. We had a really good conversation. She put a smile on. I love her accent. And, that clear, crisp Northeastern accent, it put a smile on my face. It really did. Because people down here, I can't understand. So I love them. I mean, there's some great people here, but I can't understand that Southern dialect. You know what I mean? But yeah, if she could send me out an email, because it's hard for me to keep track when you go live sometime. Like tonight, I'm like, oh man, I missed it. And then you came on because you got cable a little late, but I was waiting for you to come on, and luckily you came on. It's the first time I got a chance to talk to you. But you're a great man, Walter, and I tell you what, I've watched enough of your episodes. Anybody that says anything about you, if I seen them, I'd put a foot in their butt. There's nobody like you. I've never seen anybody like you out there. You care. You're genuine. I could read you, and I know you're the real thing. And you've probably educated and helped so many people. And they should be really appreciative of having something like this. Most attorneys, they don't care. It's about the money. And everybody's got to make money. You're over there up late at night doing these videos, and I can't sleep at night. I'm like, look at the poor guy hasn't slept. He's got 2 hours of sleep. But we appreciate it. I know I do. I appreciate you. If I ever seen you and you were stranded on the side of the road, I'd be towing you wherever you needed to go for free. You know what I mean? I do have a tow truck, but anyhow, I'll let you go and take some more calls. I want to thank you, and just keep up the good work. And if Shelly could send me an email, just let me know when you're doing. He said a few weeks you're going to do that special broadcast live.
Yeah, that one's going to be a bigger one. That's literally going to be like a 35, 40 minute where it'll probably be live, because I do mostly live videos because they're just easier to produce than the editing of the other ones. But I'll probably do an announcement video to give a heads up as to when that one's coming out, because that one is going to be controversial. But inherent in the controversial, people are going to go ahead and say a lot of things that help us develop the future of better treatment for different types of people. So, it is what it is.
Sometimes, you got to touch nerves. Some people, they do need this, you got to look at both sides of it. I mean, it's a thing. A lot of people, we have a lot of division, and I like that you're very professional in the way that you talk about, because politics have a lot to do with this, unfortunately. And and that's the thing. We don't just want to vote for a Democrat just because, hey, we want to vote for the people that are gonna really do something and mean it. But yeah, I appreciate it, and like I said, I'm looking forward to that show. But everything you talk about, like with these medications, I'm a witness to it, Walter. Illinois Masonic, real quick, I'll let you go. I used to see a psychologist on the second floor. Everybody was kind of normal up there. Seeing her, they're happy to see their psychologist, because there was some really great psychologists. They put a smile on your face. Downstairs on the first floor was my shrink. I go down there, everybody in the lobby, Thor's, what the Thorazine shuffle is, right? They got the twitching leg going, They got the face, like a grimace. I mean, I know a lot about these because I grew up with, around a lot of this stuff. and they dope these people up, and they just out of sight, out of mind. And the doctor tried it on me. He tried put me on. I don't know if you ever heard of Geodon. Geodone or Geodon. It's a very strong antipsychotic. I took one pill of this, and it was to the kitchen to eat, to the bed, to the bathroom, to the kitchen to eat, to the bed. I mean, I just took it for one day. I'm like, this doctor's trying to turn me into one flew over the cuckoo's nest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, some of these medications, they could do damage to your brain more than you already have. That's why I always believe in therapy first. You know what I mean? And because talking to somebody, you could really help somebody talking to them a lot more. Some people, they do have chemical imbalances they got to be on. So, you know, I'm not a doctor. I'm just going on my experience. But you do touch on some really good points. These doctors, they abuse giving out some stuff to people really. I mean, you don't want to have somebody on medicine the rest of their life.
No,
if
yeah.
They're going through a short episode, you know?
Yeah. Let me grab the next caller because we're at 10:40.
Okay.
But I will catch you a little bit later, and I'll let you know, or just I'll do an update video as to when that other one's popping out. But I'll catch you a little bit later, and we'll go from there, you know?
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Have a good rest of your night.
Thank you, good sir. Sleep.
Tell Shelly I said thank you, too. You got wonderful staff over there.
Thank you.
I gave you a good review on your thing there.
Good.
If there was 10 stars, I would have given you 10. There's only 5.
Yeah, indeed. Well, thank you. You know, well, sounds good, good sir. I will catch you. I'll catch you a little bit later, and 2 weeks. 2 weeks, I'll have that video popping out.
Oh, great. Thank you, sir. You have a good rest of your night.
Thank you too. Bye bye.
You take care.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
So it is getting super late. Cincinnati Fireball for 10 minutes on this. There you go. Thank you. I appreciate it. We're getting another call real quick. Let me take it real quick. Let's see what we got. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Knott. We are live on YouTube. Remember to use a fake name throughout this process. Would you like me to answer a specific question, or would you like me to run hearing questions with you?
Hi, Walter. I had a specific question.
Sure.
So I called in a few weeks ago. I'm the 28-year-old that has a lot of mental health issues. I had my hearing. I did win the hearing.
Good.
And yeah, so but the judge said I would need a rep payee because they don't think I could handle the finances on my own. What exactly is that? I have a wife. I'm married. What exactly goes into that, and how does that work?
Does the wife have any criminal history with, activity related to abuse of funds or stealing?
No.
Okay. Does she have any criminal history at all?
No.
Okay. So she's not the best felon ever?
No.
All right. So you'll make her your payee. She'll receive the funds. She'll do the accounting. She'll distribute them to you as appropriate. And you live your life just the exact same way as if you had got them. Because let's call it like it is. When you have a wife, they kind of financially watch things.
So. Yeah, she does all the shopping anyway. So
yeah.
We have a shared banking account. She does all the shopping and everything. Always has. So.
Yeah. They do seem to keep us on track. That's why my life is so off track. I assume. So.
Right.
But it's a no biggie. I mean, it's an extra step, but it's not a hard one. You can send into the SSA 795 with her statement on it saying that she agrees to go ahead and be your payee, and that'll speed it up a little bit.
Okay, thank you so much. I just wanted to thank you for your help because I called in a few times and had you run hearing questions with me, and
sure, yeah.
My attorney didn't run it with me at all, so it was nerve-wracking to say the least. So I really appreciate all your help. I'm gonna donate some money to you whenever I start getting my money as well, and as a thank you. So
thank you, good sir. Oh, a quick question: were the hearing questions that I asked you similar to the hearing questions in the hearing with the administrative law judge?
Not really, because the law judge herself,
mm-hmm.
She really only asked a few questions and interrupted me a few times to ask like some other detailed questions.
Mm-hmm.
About my stuff. Basically, my attorney did most of the talking and most of the questions.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so she, yeah.
Medical record.
So she cross-examined. Your attorney did the initial examination.
Right. Oh, she kind of started out at first. She for about the first maybe 5 to 10 minutes asking me questions.
Mm-hmm.
She mostly asked about my marijuana use because she said she knew that I had medical marijuana card, and was wondering how often I use medical marijuana and stuff like that, because it could be part of the cause of my symptoms. And I told her, I only use it once or twice a week, and I haven't used for like the last 3 or 4 months. And she was, happy with that answer. So
Good. That's excellent. So the questions I always ask people are usually the first round, being the direct examination. The cross-examination questions are basically the counter arguments to those answers that were already given, and case-specific questions. So like when you make a statement and then the judge knows or the attorney knows something from the record is different, that's usually what pops up in the cross-examination. How much time did your attorney spend questioning you during the hearing?
He spent about 30 minutes or so, I'd say.
Good.
The judge really questioned me after he did most of his questions. Like, she would just kind of cut in once in a while and ask like a little bit more detail about some of it, but I don't think I answered anything that was like outside my medical record for her to really like, look at or frown on or anything like that. So she didn't, after the first 10 minutes, she only asked me maybe 1 or 2 questions. And then she asked the vocational expert one hypothetical, and they said there was no jobs in the national economy that I could do. And that was the end of it. And my attorney told me that I had one. And the judge had told them after they went off record to talk to me about a rep payee, and he just said I would need one, and didn't really explain what it was. So I was like, I'll just go to Walter whenever I get the chance to watch again.
Yeah, that's why we do this. So no, that's hey man, you're gonna be set. You're gonna have insurance. Check every month. Your wife's gonna be happier. You're gonna choose to be happy or not happy. That's up to you. That's totally up to you. Yeah.
A lot less,
perfect.
Stress now, because I've always been the type of person that likes to work. I love working, but ever since I've had these mental health issues coming up, I've been guilty about not being able to work and feeling bad about it. But at least now that the government agrees, hey, you have a lot of serious health issues, you can't work right now, I feel less guilty about the last year and a half of, struggling. And, it takes a lot of weight and burden off my shoulders, knowing I'll have money coming in to be able to help pay for bills again.
Man, I wish I could figure out how to how to capture that feeling, because with everything taking so long right now, with so many people having applied and the system just being a slug to process claims, deliver decisions, it's a tough thing, because back in the day it used to be like 4 to 6 months for an initial filing to get processed, and people would call up and, oh, it's taking so much time, oh, blah 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 blah. But now it's you're talking like 9 months, maybe 12 months, maybe 14 months at the initial filing level, because they're just so bogged down in some of the areas. Like some areas in the middle of nowhere, you get that thing processed pretty quickly. Some areas like Orlando, oh man, it takes forever. So, but that's excellent, good sir. I will catch you later. You have a wonderful night, and super congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much. And like I said, I couldn't have done it without your help. So I really appreciate it. And I'll be donating whenever I get paid as soon as I get the official decision letter in the mail and everything. So
excellent. Well, I really appreciate it. I really do. And whatchamacallit, make sure you call in once everything's set and give us an update. And we'll go from there,
I will. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a great night.
You too, good sir. Have a wonderful night. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye. So, guys, here's the thing. I'm going to text right now to see if the security expert is awake. I'm going to text him right now. I sent him a prototype for what I thought the thumbnail would look good. I don't know if he's going to dig it or not. It kind of looked like this. I'll pop it up there. I thought it was pretty cool, but I don't know if he's going to dig it. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, he's got some major updates, and he's got some info that's not even on the news, which is really cool. But it's also from some of the stuff he's been telling me about what he can actually put on the air, like into a microphone for this live, is restricted compared to some of the stuff he actually knows. So we are moving into a different phase of countries on Earth interacting with each other. And I can't go into it yet. I want him to go into it. He's the one that researches it, has the numbers, has the images, studies the stuff. I don't. I just ask a bunch of questions because I don't know. Like, I just don't know what Russia's going to do next. You know, like I watch the infographics show and the this show and the that show just to see what ideas are floating out there. I don't know. I'm not a security expert. It's just not my field. You know, like I'm the idiot that buys like, you know, junk food to like store instead of like doing it the right way. But I like junk food, so, you know. Anyways, guys, I will catch you a little bit later. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. And I hope we kind of talked and worked on that like fourth stimulus into 2023 idea. I've been hearing people call in talking about how channels are starting to drumbeat it up about the fourth stimulus and stuff. And I just wanted to make sure we kind of get a little bit of reality and expectations and go from there. But Sweetie's over there. She's starting to, you know, now she's here. Hi, Sweetie. So basically, I got to let Miss Pigglepuff outside. If I don't let her outside, she's going to turn into a big Pigglepuff of Snuggle Muffins. I know, Sweetie. I know. I will catch you guys a little bit later, and we'll go from there, all right? Have fun. All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. All right. Here we go. Oh, no, I clicked the wrong button. She's making me click the wrong. There we go. I got it. All right.